Welcome, and thank you for listening to today's episode of Medical Device Global Market Access by Pure Global. The host will guide you through a critical regulatory update for any medical device or IVD manufacturer with products on the Swiss market. We are focusing on Switzerland and the upcoming mandatory registration requirements for the Swissdamed database. This is a significant change from the current voluntary system and will impact every manufacturer, regardless of device class, who wishes to maintain market access in Switzerland. It is crucial to understand the deadlines and new obligations to avoid any disruption to your business. Swissmedic, the Swiss Agency for Therapeutic Products, has announced that registration of medical devices and in vitro diagnostics in its national database, Swissdamed, will become mandatory. This move aims to increase transparency and traceability of devices on the Swiss market, mirroring some of the objectives of the EU's UDI-DI database, although it's important to remember that Swissdamed is a separate and distinct national system. The scope of this new requirement is comprehensive, covering all classes of medical devices and IVDs, as well as systems and procedure packs. This means that whether you manufacture a Class 1 non-sterile device or a high-risk Class 3 implantable, you will be subject to these new rules. The timeline for implementation has been clearly defined by Swissmedic, and there are two key dates to mark on your calendar. The first is July 1st, 2026. From this date forward, any new medical device or IVD that has not previously been placed on the Swiss market must be registered in Swissdamed before it can be legally sold. There is no grace period for new products. The second key date is December 31st, 2026. This date marks the end of a 6-month transition period for devices that were already on the Swiss market prior to July 1st, 2026. If your products fall into this category, you have until the end of 2026 to complete their registration in Swissdamed to ensure they can remain on the market. Beyond the registration itself, Swissmedic is introducing a new fee structure that will have a direct financial impact on manufacturers. Starting from the mandatory implementation date, there will be annual fees to maintain device registrations in the database. These fees will be calculated based on the number of UDI-DIs, or unique device identification, device identifiers, registered for a given manufacturer. This is a significant operational change as it introduces a recurring cost tied directly to the size of your product portfolio in Switzerland. Companies will need to factor these new annual expenses into their budgets for 2026 and beyond. So what practical actions should your regulatory, quality, and market access teams be taking now to prepare? First, we strongly recommend you begin compiling and verifying all necessary device data for your entire Swiss portfolio immediately. This includes gathering all UDI-DIs, basic UDI-DIs, and other required product information. Waiting until 2026 could create a significant bottleneck and put your market access at risk. Second, you must establish clear communication with your Swiss Authorized Representative, or CH Rep. The CH Rep is typically responsible for managing Swissdamed registrations on behalf of the manufacturer. You need to align on timelines, data requirements, and responsibilities, including who will manage the payment of the new annual fees. Third, your finance and regulatory teams must collaborate to forecast and budget for these new annual fees. Analyze your portfolio to understand the potential cost based on your total number of UDI-DIs. This leads to a fourth strategic action: reviewing your Swiss product portfolio. The introduction of a per-device annual fee might change the commercial viability of some older or lower-volume products. This is an opportune moment to assess which devices are essential to maintain in the Swiss market and consider consolidating or retiring others to manage costs effectively. Proactive preparation over the next 2 years will be the key to a smooth transition and uninterrupted access to the Swiss market. Navigating these regulatory shifts can be complex, especially when managing multiple global markets. If your team needs support in preparing for the Swissdamed deadline or requires a Swiss authorized representative, we invite you to check out Pure Global. In the description of this episode, you will find links to free AI-powered regulatory intelligence tools and our global database. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.